let's get started. Credit to Legion of Men.
They found him guilty so fast right before Juneteenth. These folks playing in our faces. Carmelo's only crime was not allowing himself to get beat down by a white man. Carmelo
The rhetoric.
will get out of prison. That boy ain't getting out of the grave.
He already got assaulted in prison, right? If I read that correctly, he already got assaulted in prison. If that was true.
If he kept his hands to himself, he'd still be enjoying his white privilege today. White people are not victims of racism. You can't be a victim of a system you created. Hey, 23-year-old white guy who can't find a job and still lives with your parents. Did you know you created the entire system we're in right now?
And it's essentially just open revisionism.
In the 90s, this is what it was like. I was watching basketball. Michael Jordan came out with a movie, Space Jam. It was so fucking cool. Aliens. Great. As a child, amazing. Looked up to
I remember those days too. Remember these problems.
Blade comes out. It's a black vampire hunter, and he's smooth as fuck with it. What else was it? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was on TV, and it was common to watch. Super cool show, real chill. And so you had what you could call, black exposure, and it was very positive, and it was family oriented. Nowadays, what's being pushed in schools and the media, it's blacks hating white. They think systemic like that wasn't
All the way down to like elementary school. It is getting vile. It truly benefits neither group. It does not benefit a black or non-white child to be taught to hate white people. That only serves to do damage to the child.
a thing back then. Systemic oppression is the one reason I'm failing. There is no more accountability. It's just the white man's fault. If you put your hands on somebody, you deserve to die. White people are the cause of all issues. And this is not just to the black community. It's all minorities. It's funny to say minorities, which is a gaslight because globally whites are the minorities. But in white countries, whites are blamed for everything. So now there's like this, it's a new attitude that current day blacks have and minorities in general that is anti-white, that they just hate white or taught to hate white people. So you don't even feel comfortable being around them anymore as a white person. There is no positive messaging anymore. There is no we all get along. It's just racial division and hatred. But what sucks about it,
Please stop hating and threatening violence, open racial violence on your former conquerors. Because you may back them into a corner where they will be forced to conquer you again.
is that the community actually feels that way. A lot of blacks actually hate whites and are very racist.
This needs to change.
And there is no more kumbaya, let's all get together like the 90s where and tried to erase color. Color is at the forefront now. So the blacks we have today are not like the old blacks that I grew up with, my compatriots, my colleagues.
If you want to be mad at somebody, look at who you address your tax return to. You probably find them there.
They're a completely different mentality. They've been brainwashed completely. Now you could say, well, that's because you were a kid and everything, grass was greener, rose-tinted glasses, but we've always had these racial tensions and
certainly isn't the white man across the street. White man across the street is getting beaten down by the taxes and the price hikes. He's got to pay more for gas just like everybody else.
that's also true. Sure. The tensions were always there. Not much has changed in that sense, but it's just so much worse today, so much more visible, probably because the internet, probably because cell phones and every stupid person gets an opinion and it's amplified by the millions. And now you're starting to really see what usually was probably, and this is the real part of this, is what used to be swept under the rug, probably.
You have all this terrible body cam footage. A lot of black people can't even let a traffic stop begin before starting some shit. They know they on video, but they try to make some shit up verbally and try to spin some story about how they're being victimized. And then some judge will let them out. But I can't get a fucking raise. Fuck's up with that? You can't get a raise. What the fuck's up with that? But Carlos Brown Jr. can get let out of jail for the 26th time to lead somebody and still have people fighting to release him back into the public again. Oh, he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know his action. Get out of here. That man is a top 5 talking point for bringing capital punishment back.
Don't get to hear people saying ignorant shit like they used to, just out loud, out and open. So now we kind of get to see who people really are. And unfortunately, what we really get to see is that people aren't as good as we hoped they were. I think that's what actually happened. I grew up in what feels like a completely different time. And yeah, there were still racial tensions and stuff like that. We weren't blind to it, but it didn't dominate our life. And we didn't, almost exclude each other strictly on that like people do today, and and it makes people want to segregate themselves. Like, I don't want to be around black.
Right there. You see what the ignorant black folk that be doing this know, but they don't want to admit all of these body cam footage records of black folk chimping out and all of that shit, fighting police, throwing shit at police, all that type of shit is going to be in like a top 3 talking point of why Jim Crow's coming back to the United States. I want y'all to think about that. Like a Jim Crow 2.0, right? And CBDCs and the drying up of cash, physical cash, trying to migrate us over to these completely digitally maintained system of finance. And in doing that, the powers that be have a very granular control over your location because they can dynamically price things so that if they don't want you to travel somewhere, they can make it really expensive only for you. Things like this have already been done in China to limit the movement of people from. So basically, they can't, if they were born in that county, they can't leave. Back to my point on the black community, you know, it would be wise to not continue to escalate this situation across the country.
Let's be completely honest here, because they're not what I grew up with. They're not my friends. They're not who I came up with when we were all struggling and all this shit. Like, I have black friends still, of course, because I already knew them before the crazy bullshit started. But if I were to come up in the world today with what the kids are being taught today since like grade school, that it's like white's fault and all this other crazy Marxist leftist.
Facts. I mean, a lot of, obviously, many of that's only going to create problems because there's interrace classrooms, so there's always going to be, white and black students near each other um, at the moment. And when you teach one group based on their skin color to see that other skin color as an enemy and as an eternal oppressive being, well, not only are you dehumanizing that child and limiting both children's ability to learn, but it's also highly distracting for both um, sides because the white kid's always looking over his shoulder, his or her shoulder, and say the white kid does a little bit better or a lot better on a test or something or gets a better grade in something, the black kid's always going to look at the white kid's better grade as an attack on him, as though the white kid got the better grade because he was white and not because he better at that subject. It's not really the child's fault in the sense that those thinking patterns were taught to the child, not inherently believed by the child. It was first taught to the child, i.e., the child would not have come up with this on his own. So it was a concept, and a very toxic concept, that was taught to the child.
Crazy ass hate America, hate your country, hate everything about this place.
And that's basically anti-patriotic. They're trying to lower your morale about your own, not even your country's history, but its ability to even continue. Like, for example, I guess you could say the later years of high school, um, there were certain students who ended up, you know, joining the military right after graduation, right? And so, and some of them would decide to not say anything, and some of them would be fairly open about it. But it was interesting how much hate they would get behind their backs, um, because there was the whole, you know, war in the Middle East, mainly in Iraq and Afghanistan at the time when I was in school. And, I went to school in a few different states, and, pretty much everywhere I went, um, any kid who had an interest, and he was even mildly open about it as far as serving their country in any capacity, like, they would get a lot of shit for it. So I can only imagine what it would be like today for, you know, like a Gen Zer or something. Because it's only gotten worse. Like it's like doubled in how much worse it gets, like every 2 years, as far as the sentiment and the polarization.
Who built it hate your history, hate, like they're teaching the kids to hate each other based on race.
Exactly.
And
It's horrible.
I wouldn't want to be friends with any of these people today. I would actively segregate myself today because it's just not the same people. And it sucks, but hey, whatever. It is what it is. What do you want me to do about it? Why would I try to befriend and reach out and try to embed myself in a community that doesn't want anything to do with you, because most of them are being taught today that you're like the sole cause of their problems. And that's just, I think a lot of white people are starting to feel that way. And look, blacks have been, I don't even want to say brainwashed into, but at least their beliefs that it's the white man's fault and white
I think that's pretty accurate.
man this and it's us versus them and this system, we got to tear it down.
Propagandized. All the same.
They're just being used as like useful idiots, tools by the people that are going to push in this communist rhetoric, and then they're going to wipe them away like
Facts.
the communists did in Russia. Like, these liberals are so dumb. They're being used as useful idiots by Muslims in Europe, for example. And they're bringing in these millions of Muslims that, the bleeding heart liberals, like, we have to help these oppressed people, and like, we have to cater to their religious norms and
Let me remind you that it was under those religious norms that they have, and that they would send um, children on bikes with tires full of explosives to kill Marines in the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. Fact of the matter is, a lot, a lot I mean, both of those countries obviously remember those wars. A lot of people in those countries have a bone to pick with us, and we've just been asking them in with open arms. The same people who fought us so ruthlessly for the last 30 years, and we're just letting them in. Don't know who they are. The Democrats know that, or the liberals or whatever, because they always use the term undocumented, which means you don't know who they are. So you can't really say with any level of confidence that you know that their motives have any good intention. But we know from history that they certainly have a motive for ill intention. And they've stated that publicly, Middle Eastern and Islamic terrorist groups.
Responsibilities, and so like Sharia law will be fine for them and these like extremist madrasas, and it's like all of a sudden you wake up and they're the majority and now they're executing you. And kind of it's the same shit in America, just blacks are being used to cause mayhem and destruction in society with like, crazy statistics. Like look, just look at the statistics for violence. They destroy their own communities and then destroy any other community that they touch, and it's just a tool used to, I guess, hold them back. You could say that, but also keep that wedge in society that's needed for the division so those at the top can keep ruling over all of us.
I would say this is what we look like to everyone else. He is right, because it's only the loud, ignorant ones that ever speak up. There's a lot of us that aren't like that. There's a lot of us that are good, go to work, try to handle our responsibilities, right? With all the crazy stuff going on with the economy, and try to deal with it just like everybody else. And we just don't say shit. There comes a time where silence becomes complacence.
So blacks will never be allowed to clean up their own neighborhood because, the most degenerate of them are risen to the top, are lifted to the top. Look at your rap music, look at your movies, look at the culture, look at the shit on social media, look at what's propagated and pushed. Look who gets the deals signed to push the lyrics on the kids who then go and pretend that 2 years old that they're holding a gun and doing a drive-by. It's all, it's all engineered, man. And the scary part is that only a few see it, and most go along with the.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty that only the ones that either do degenerate things or promote degenerate things are the ones that get paid or any recognition. Like I said, where the fuck's my raise?
Head on a swivel, because most people are asleep and being driven into a direction. So if you're one of the ones that sticks your head out, or watch your back.
Stupid shit they say to men like, oh, you created the patriarchy. Like, who the fuck are you talking about? Joe Schmo working at Chipotle didn't create shit. The system isn't benefiting white people at all. It's not benefiting anyone except the—
No, we're all beat down by just the mismanagement and siphoning of money from us. Like, none of the taxes that an American citizen pays goes back to them in almost any way. The roads are barely maintained. Like the highways, there's lead in water in certain states. Electricity infrastructure is breaking down, while at the same time we're trying to, or the government is facilitating, they could overhaul the infrastructure for every city and town in every state in this country, right? But instead, they're working with private companies to build data centers that use in a fairly small amount of space, use more power than multiple major cities in the United States. And white folks pay a whole lot more in taxes than blacks. There is no system that is made to only harm the black community, unless it's a system we made ourselves.
really one-shotted these people, huh? Only a black child can be minding their business, get ambushed, bullied, and pushed around, and become the aggressor for—
You see how we just make shit up? You see how this is made up?
Had to be the worst defense in history. Absolutely no reason Carmelo shouldn't have testified. We gotta do better with who we hire to represent us. Plenty of black lawyers in Texas. His family raised—
See, it's a racial thing. Plenty of black lawyers. It's tribal, dude. And it'll always be tribal because the vast majority are asleep at the wheel, being driven, engineered into that direction. It's very easy to manipulate somebody that
You just gotta recognize the fakeness. Like, I don't understand why so many of us fall for cheap cons like this.
Black people, please carry more than a pocket knife. Get their asses before they can get you. What the hell do you mean?
See, that type of shit needs to stop. Because that type of rhetoric, that rhetoric right there, puts your own people at risk. Like, first of all, 70% chance it's a black woman writing that, but regardless, that type of rhetoric is a threat. It is only stoking the flames, right? So it's like, think about what you're doing. We can all agree that Charles Manson was crazy, right? One of the basically reasons why he did what he did was to start a race war, right? And back when he, you know, committed those murders with his little cult, you know, and the trial went on and everything, right? The country denounced him as crazy for wanting to start a race war between whites and blacks. So, what are black people looking for in 2026? Is that a fight that you're going to win? I don't think so. But if it's not a fight that you want to have and you're black, then it's probably time that you said something.
Democrat talking points. This is literally what the Democrat.
And, you know, that's how you end up with black female judges that release murderers like DeCarlos Brown Jr.
Black people are held to a higher standard than every other race.
They even changed the IQ scale or what retardation was because it labeled too many blacks retarded. So they had to bump, what was it, the IQ from, I think it's 85 now. If you're 85 IQ or less, you are now considered retarded. No, 70, they lowered it. Sorry. So it's like 70 or something. So the IQ got a whole standard deviation lower for what you could actually label retarded, because the old number, which was used on the, I guess, general white population, is too high for the average black, and too many of them were being deemed retarded.
Yep. So basically, standards from like 80 years ago, most of Africa is retarded. That's facts. And today, most of Africa is barely serviceable above retarded.
Look at this stuff. This is the entire reason they raised that up. And then they tried to like wash it in liberal speak. Oh, you know, it's like, well, they still have some jobs that they're capable of doing at 85 IQ. So that technically,
like digging in gold mines without protective gear and shit like that.
You're not allowed to notice this stuff. You can't say this.
Oops, I fell and my knife accidentally stabbed your heart.
Austin fell onto Carmelo's knife trying to attack him because the knife is 3.5 inches. The cut was only 2.
Look at how we just cape for the worst of our community. I hate that so much. Like, any hardworking, like, you know, would be middle class, if not for all of the bullshit going on in the economy to basically make it so that anybody that would have been middle class, regardless of race, is basically just poor now. Like, our community never has anything good to say about the working black man or the, you know, single or married black father. Never anything good to say.
Any black person, regardless of what they did. What the like, I don't support every white person. Some of you are dumb. What's wild is
Carmelo Anthony had been white, not only would he have not been convicted, there'd have never been charges. The only reason Carmelo Anthony was convicted was because we are a broken, fucking bigoted country.
When you got people on your own side that are just ushering in your own destruction. And I think, let me just pull it back from race. I think it's liberals of any race, right? So if you're a white liberal, you're a traitor to your own race. If you're a black liberal, you're a traitor to your own race. Because the only people that are talking about, and if you're a liberal Hispanic or a liberal Asian, you're a traitor to your own race. have you noticed that it's the black conservatives, the white conservatives, Asian conservatives, and Hispanic conservatives that are telling you to be responsible, to have fathers in the homes, to fill up the churches if you must, to have the man lead the household,
Facts.
to instill discipline in your children, to have a subservient wife, to take care of your business as a man when it comes to your family, earn the bread, protect them, and provide, and to raise good, upstanding citizens, right? It's the conservatives of each race that are hitting up on those points consistently, right? It doesn't matter skin color in this context. It's just the conservative mindset. And I understand when we look at these people and they say this stupid shit that you know is not true, it makes you want to fucking genocide half of your own people. I'm serious. How do you change a country for the better when your own people are selling you out? Your own people are benefiting from the delusion and the bullshit. Your own people are propagating falsehoods because they feel morally superior doing, or just outright race hustlers. Like,
It's just race hustling. I mean, they might think that they're getting over because, and they are, in the sense that, you know, if your life plan is for your income to be welfare from the United States government, then yeah, you're a fucking leech. I see it as them also harming themselves, right? Because they're basically just willing to live in squalor because, you know, welfare is a subsistence income. It's not supposed to be a replacement for a successful career job. Relegate themselves to living at the income that welfare provides. So I don't really even see that as a benefit for them or for, you know, the people that have to pay for it. The other hardworking black people in their community, right, that do pay taxes, along with all of the white folks that are paying these taxes to, you know, fund this subsistence but free lifestyle that these people are willing to subject themselves to. The only blacks that really benefit from all of this like poison and toxic ideology indoctrinated into the black community over multiple generations, the only blacks that benefit from that are the ones that have found a way, usually within some form of media, to glorify and promote the worst of black and specifically African Americans, those stereotypes. So, like he was saying earlier, like with rap or blaxploitation films and things like that, right? Or like lifelong activists like Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson.
black, there's no accountability to be held. Everyone else is responsible for black problems. And those race hustlers, everyone in the black community knows who they are, and they push that bullshit. And it keeps the gravy train rolling. It keeps them filling stadiums up and, you know, rooms with
Either gangsterism or oppression.
bullshit that they get to speak on at keynotes and all this stuff. But they never do nothing for the black community, right? Like, you ever notice?
And anybody who says different, especially if they're black, they just won't let you talk about it. Or they'll tell you, they'll or not tell you, but they'll tell everyone else, oh, you know, don't listen to that guy. You know, he's a self-racist, or, you know, he's an Uncle Tom, or he's really white, or whatever. Definitely not.
Nothing's gotten better. Has anything gotten better? Like, oh wow, the ghetto has been reformed and money's come in and the schools have gotten better and policing's gotten better and, you know, colleges have got nothing, bro. Nothing has improved for the community. Even after a black president, nothing has improved. Shit's gotten worse because that's the liberals. Because the liberals are in power, really, and they're pushing their ideology, their liberal ideology. And none of that shit is what actually builds a strong community, which is strong nuclear families, which is accountability, which is taking schooling seriously, right? Being an upstanding citizen, being responsible for yourself, but also having a duty to the people around you that you're sharing this planet with. Liberals don't fucking talk about any of that shit. Liberals have become so degenerate today that I'm actively watching on X. They're having gay pride parades and guys with their dicks out twirling them around in front of kids. Like,
Top 5 talking point for bringing capital punishment back to the United States right there.
this is where liberals have ended up, on the radical.
This is true. You know, if you're on X, you know what he's talking about. Bring back the gallows.
It's self-destruction. It's have no babies. It's we're the evil of earth. It's allow the third world to come in and completely destroy our societies that we've set up and all the opportunities it's provided the people that live here. For blacks, it's constant victim mentality. We're never.
The loudest, most ghetto black folks right now don't even realize that we're getting replaced by a much more violent African from the continent, as they say. You know, how quickly we forget about that, you know, that Sudanese man in Texas that committed that mass shooting. And he lived in the United States for like 18 years or something to repay us for all our hospitality.
We're going to make it. We're always being punched down on. You know, the whole world hates.
For all these Somalis and the fraud and literally taking money that I've given to the government, and then that money then goes to a Somalian. It's robbery. That's actually theft. And, you know, in their Sharia country, they know what the punishment for theft is. So that discernment doesn't change just because you know, crossed an ocean.
And I don't care what he did. Don't do that. That's what people were doing in this case. Okay. And then everybody's like in an uproar because there's no black people on the jury.
She shouldn't be able to vote. She shouldn't be able to vote.
Hey, for the black homies watching, are you seeing what the rest of us are seeing?
Yes, I do. And I don't know what to do about it. I truly don't. And it's not all just dumb black people that believe this shit either. Like, you know, there are some that, you know, are fairly intelligent and, you know, buy this stuff too. You know, I don't know. You know, even though you can tell that they don't actually, you know, believe that it's you know, that any of these arguments are good or anything like that, but they're just backing their people. It's very tribal, like you said.
Do you think people don't want to be around you? Why do you think people move far away from you? Why do you think all of society always is against you? Do you see the shit your own peoples are? It's got to be a living hell to be a high IQ black person. Like, you're looking at your own people and you face palm.
Even just being at my level of intelligence, it's difficult sometimes talking with a lot of black people and how they see the world.
Turn to acting irregular. This case is really affecting me, making me want to go to law school and fight for my people. I'm sorry, I'm confused. Your people being murderers? Is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about? Murderers? Your people being murderers? Also, if by some miracle you happen to get into law school, you'll be disappointed to find out that intentionally stabbing someone and killing them is in fact murder, regardless of what your skin color is. And there were some people coming at me like, oh, I bet you'll defend Chud the Builder, and like, first of all,
Actually, I will. He has a right to say what he wants to say, and that has no effect. That whatever his prior content was has absolutely no bearing on when someone intends to do you physical and possibly life-ending harm, and you discharge your firearm in self-defense. Whatever you said on the internet in the past has absolutely no bearing on that situation.
stay out of black people's mentions about Carmelo Anthony. We are the reason not one black juror was seated. We are the reason that an appeal filed on those grounds will surely fail. We are the reason Jim Crow is once again law.
Hey, if we can't
But it really will be one day if this shit keeps up.
coexist, then just split the fucking like, hey, that's why Liberia was an option early on in this country. It was being discussed. If we really can't if this is what they're saying, right? This is the messaging of these communities. White people are evil. White people are the problem. And white people need to disappear. Okay, cool. So get out of all white countries and let the whites live by themselves. Because that's the end logic of what they're saying. The only other way you get to what you're saying is by killing all white people.
You know, you can go back to Somalia or Chad or the Congo.
The rest of the world is literally not white. The rest of Earth is brown. You can literally go anywhere else, anywhere. Nothing's stopping you. The borders aren't closed. You could just walk away. Why don't you?
It's a very good question, right? Like, and black folks are gonna get called on that a lot more. Like, you know, if white people are so dangerous to black folks, then the black folks that think that way, why haven't y'all moved to some African country then, right? Because all those countries are shit and worse than the United States. That's why. So really, what they're talking about isn't really that bad, even though they want to talk it up. It really isn't that bad for you to move already.
Honestly, that 35-year sentence coming down on the teenager Carmelo Anthony felt like a proxy for a lynching.
No, it didn't, but we might need to bring him back for a while.
Carmelo Anthony defended himself
Unreal.
against two white supremacists. Now that black people stand up for themselves, white fragility is taking over. They simply can't handle it. He saved himself from being lynched, and now he has to spend decades in prison. F***ing racist country. Huh? He was being lynched? Yes. Do these people live in the Netflix adaptation version of reality or something?
Like, the fact that he even has a chance to get out is merciful in and of itself.
I think if you just took an IQ test of society and then people past a certain cutoff get to live here, and then people that don't make it get to live there, I think we'd all do fine. Racially, we'd all do fine. I think it would probably work out.
I think that's actually a really interesting idea. At the present moment, I do think that there is a reasonable case to be made for voting to be restricted only to those that pass a civic test, basically in order to weed out those too dumb or too lazy to participate in politics. Also, I think that women shouldn't be allowed anywhere near politics. Restore all military posts and personnel to, you know, all male organizations, you know, except potentially with branch hospitals in garrison. Nothing wrong with a, you know, like an army nurse, you know, in garrison or something like that, but certainly nowhere else in any branch of the military. And I think we would have a much stronger nation with that.
Teach your kids to defend themselves by any means possible. Keep your black kids in black spaces as much as possible.
This is the type of shit that gets us killed. This type of teaching is what gets our youngins killed.
Bro, can you imagine this shit? Keep your white kids in white spaces. Stop bringing your white kids or your black kids into white spaces. Whites need to have their own spaces. Imagine that. Imagine that being said out loud.
Black folks are asking for Jim Crow back.
We don't want those evil white people drinking out of the same water fountain as us. I'm black. I haven't stabbed anyone in the chest after being asked to leave a tent. I'm not in prison. I'm free. It's not hard to not commit a crime. Listen, I appreciate the sentiment here, but how did we get to a point where this is like a breath of fresh air?
Like, why do we even have to say it? But when we say nothing, then you get all the other shit that we've seen this whole video.
Guys, hopefully people are agreeing. Shut your hoe ass up. Emmett Till didn't commit a crime either. What happened to him? You're not black. You're not black. You're a
Damn.
boy, you ain't black. You may be black, but you ain't black.
That's the problem right there. See, that's really the problem, is that your own community will try to deny the reality that you are the same color as them, the same ancestral history, are part of the same culture, but when you say something sensible, say something that is not blindly in favor of the black person, you are immediately looked at as a traitor to your race. And you'll have a lot of individuals like this within your own community, the black community, declaring you are not black solely on the fact that you may have an opinion or take a stance on some situation that is not blindly in favor of the black person. They will accuse you of wanting to see your own people go to jail and things like that. Somehow attempt to savage your reputation based off of the fact that you may have a different opinion on, court decision or whatever. And the rest of the group follows that mentality, and that's why we can't make any progress.
You see? Must be hell.
Just left the courthouse and any white person can get it for real. I don't give a f***. F*** it. Dig Austin Metcalf up and stab his ass again.
Why would you want to be around these people? And this is, again, it's like not racist. It's not coming from hate. It's not bigotry. It's like, here's evidence, mountain of evidence. I watched an animal do the thing. Don't want it to do that thing to me. I watched people do the thing. They're doing things constantly, doing the same shit over and over again. Don't want them doing that to me. Will remove myself from that situation. Do you understand? You understand the logic there? It's just a simple little example of how if something does something often enough, you then assign that trait to the thing, and then you treat the thing with that information, that knowledge, a different way.
And right off the bat, man, free Carmelo. Straight up. I don't give a fuck about no white lives. F that cracker. We smoking on that Austin Pat.
Is this like alcohol fetal syndrome? Just look, man. Just like, you want to be around this? Oh my God, bro.
There isn't a black American on earth that is surprised by what just happened to Carmelo Anthony. Not one black face in that jury box.
Murdered somebody, and then he went to jail, or he is going to jail for 35 years. He should have gotten life. Take her off the television. We need to get black women out of politics.
See, they not used to this happening to them, y'all. My only problem is it should happen more. Can we please pick a day where we just the white people up? Matter of fact, I wish I knew where the little white boy grave was so I can go spit on that.
You don't know what he's asking for. That's not a fight he's gonna win.
Fear and agony that I promise you, the Metcalfs probably never spent a day living that way.
Soulless human being. Another reason why we need black women out of politics. Thank you for listening.